Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
I'm going to have a first look at the MonkMakes Raspberry Robot Rover kit. I have no idea what's inside, so I guess this is actually an unboxing video, which I don't think I've ever done one of these before. Robotics on the Raspberry Pi is something I've not actually ever explored, so I'm quite keen to get into this. Let's have a look. I'm just going to cut through the barcode, slice through it, and see what is inside this box and what awaits. Oh, here we go. It says, thank you for buying the Raspberry Rover kit. You should include a Raspberry Robot board, a Raspberry Squid button, a rangefinder, a USB adapter, car chassis, 2 gear motors, 2 wheels, 1 caster, 2 screwdrivers, goodness me, a battery box, batteries not included, and extra bits and instructions. The last MonkMakes kit I had really good instructions, so I'll be really keen to see if this is as good. Here are the instructions. It's a nice colour leaflet, so I've got a picture on there that shows me what I'm aiming for. That's what I'm going to build. Oh, good, we've got more than one project. So we've got, we can build this in steps. Looks like that's a very good idea. Blinking, cheer lights, so we're going to build it bit by bit. Coin toss, rangefinder. Exciting stuff. Okay, so we can do lots of things before we actually start building the robot and build the chassis. Getting battery power going. I need to put some batteries on charge, I think. Manual robot, sequence robot, and a Rover robot. That looks like the final project there, and all good. Some extensions there are things you can get on and do. Let's have a look inside the box. Oh, lots of goodies in here. So lots of 2 nice wheels. What have we got here? We've got a nice sort of roller thing. I guess that's for the back to keep it running around. Very nice looking screwdriver. These must be the motors. They look pretty cool. I like those. A nice button. Got one of those, I think, with the MonkMakes RFID kit. Had a button like that. They seem to like those. Long red buttons on sticks. Like the fact it's red. Buttons always have to be red. Oh, a very big chunky LED. I imagine that's a tricolour LED because it's got lots of tentacles coming out of it. Lots of bolts, nuts and things. That'll be for my batteries to go in when I've charged them up. What have we got in here? Oh, intriguing. Right, oh, a nice plate. So that's the plate. That's clearly got some protective plastic on. That's going to be clear, I imagine, when I peel that off. Raspberry Robot Rover, monkmakes.com. So everything's going to get bolted onto that base plate. And let's see what's in this box here, finally. Open this up. Ooh, right, okay, this is the serious stuff here. That must be a distance sensor, I would imagine, of some description. So that's going to stop my robot bumping into things. And this is the magic board, I guess, Raspberry Robot. So this is the board that does all the really clever stuff. Okay. Oh, and inside there, what is in there? There's a little Wi-Fi dongle, I think. And in there, the world's tiniest screwdriver. Intriguing. I wonder what that's for. Can't wait to get all this unpacked and find out. Okay, we're going to install the library and the programs now. So on my Raspberry Pi is not included in the box, of course, along with the batteries. So we'll open up a console, and according to the instructions, I have to change directory to the home directory. I might already be there, but let's try that anyway. So it says cd /home/pi. Yeah, I think I was already there. And then I need to download, using Git, I need to download the library. So let's see if I can get this right first time. Git clone https://github.com/Raspberry Robot board 3. Okay, I think I got all that right. Raspberry Robot board 3. Press enter. It's cloning something, so I think I must have typed that right. Oh, that's done. That was quick. And now I've got to do cd Raspberry Robot board 3 /Python. There we go. So I'm in the directory, and now I've got to actually install it. So let's do sudo python setup.py / space install. Let's see how long that takes. There we go, running install. That was very quick. So that's installed the library. I now need to install the program. So I go back to the home directory, cd/home/pi. And now I've got to do another git command. So git clone. And this time we're going to a different website, https://github. We're going to a different user rather, github.com/technoteacher. That's a familiar name. There we go, technoteacher /Raspberry Robot 3. Press enter. Let's see if that's working. Oh, very quick. That seems to have done. And then after that, I need to change directory into the new directory I've just downloaded, cd Raspberry Robot 3. And to see a list of programs in all the kit, it says type a list command. There we go. So those are the Python programs that we're going to be using as part of the robot project. Okay, for the next bit, I've taken my Raspberry Pi out of its lovely Pimoroni case. So here we've got a Raspberry Pi ready to go with its USB dongle in there because it's a slightly older Raspberry Pi. And let's see how easy this is. It says there are two LEDs called LED 1 and LED 2. It's possible to switch these off independently. Disconnect the power to your Raspberry Pi. I've done that, and attach the RRB to the GPIO connector as shown on the right. If you're using an original Raspberry Pi, it'll fit over all the pins. Oh good, so you can use it on an original Raspberry Pi. That might be useful for me in school, because I found in the cupboard the very first model of Raspberry Pi that was gathering dust. Like, it had never been used, so maybe I could build a robot out of that, who knows. But we've got a slightly newer one here, so let me find the board, have a rummage around in the box that came with the kit. That's the board. This is the all-important bit, so let's open it out of its electrostatic bag and get it out. Squeeze it out of the packet and see how it fits on. So it's got a female header pin block there that's going to sit on top of the pins, GPIO pins on my Raspberry Pi. Let's look at the diagram to see if that's obvious how it goes. So let's try to orientate it. Oh, it's a little bit tricky to see. Oh, there we go. Right, so the pins are on the right. Is that how it's going? Yeah, so the Raspberry Pi is oriented that way. So we've got GPIO pins on the right, and we've got the HDMI connector is visible there. The layout of the graphics on the board is slightly different, because you'll see we've got the certification marks here on the screen print on the Raspberry Pi in the picture, but in fact they're slightly in a different place on my Raspberry Pi. But no matter, I can still follow it. So the Raspberry Pi is here, and we're going to offer up the robot board. Raspberry Pi robot board is going to go here, and it's going to go over the top set of pins. So I'm going to turn it around like that and offer it up that way onto the top rows of pins, and I'm going to slide them on like that. There we go, and I think that appears to be on. That appears to be done. Let's just check if I turn the Raspberry Pi round that it looks like the one in the picture. Let's have a look. Does that look like the one in the picture? Yeah, it does. It's the right way around. Okay, so I think we might be good now to power it back up again. Okay, I've powered the Raspberry Pi back up with the board on top, and I've attached what they call a squid, which is this big chunky RGB LED, which connects to some of the GPIO pins here. The picture in the book wasn't massively clear, but fortunately it does explain in words which pin, which leg of the LED needs to be connected to, so I was able to connect it. The numbers on the side of the board are very small, however. I struggle to see them a bit with my eyesight, but I found if I held it at arm's length and looked at it through a telescope, I could just about attach it. Younger eyes will have no trouble, I'm sure, attaching those to the right pins. And it's really nice as well, though, that the GPIO pins are brought out on the top of the robot board. Often when you plug a hat or something into a Raspberry Pi, you lose access to all the other GPIO pins. And it's nice to see they're all still get-atable. That's really nice. There are some example programs that come with it, so let's have a look. There is something called an Internet of Things Cheerlights project, which will do something when we tweet, apparently, and some other examples. So let's try. There's one here called RGB Pi, which apparently will cycle the LED. Let's have a look. Let's run that one, see what happens. Working. Oh yes, it's a bit hard to see on the video probably, but that LED is changing colour. There we go. It's cycling through all the colours. So that seems to be working. Right, so let me just Control C to stop that one. That's RGB, and then we'll try sudo python O2 RGB fade. Let's see what that was. RGB fade. So there we go. The LED's coming on red. I think it's just going to cycle through different colours very slowly. There we go. Oh, that's quite nice. That's quite a nice effect. That's fade. So that will fade the red light. You can modify the program to do different colours apparently. Let's get rid of that. And then cheer lights. Let's try this one. So sudo python and then O2. I guess because we're in it. Experiment 2, O2 underscore RGB underscore cheerlights PY. Right, what this says here is, oh, it's gone green. It says run the program O2 blah blah blah. We've run that. Try tweeting cheerlights blue. Okay, interesting. So I've got to send a tweet. Right, I'm going to do that on a separate computer. I'm going to come over on the computer behind me. I'm going to open up Twitter if it's working. Wait for Twitter to open. Okay. And I'm going to send a tweet that just says hashtag cheerlightsblue. Is this really going to work? Extraordinary if it does. Right. Hashtag. I'll find the hash key. Right. Cheerlightsblue. Right. Cheerlightsblue. So I've now sent a tweet. Oh no. I thought I had. I hadn't. Right. Let's try that again. I've now sent a tweet on another computer that says cheerlightsblue. I suppose I could have done it on the Raspberry Pi. Is anything happening? Nah, no, I've got an error. It's not running. That didn't really work, did it? Let's try running it again. Oh, it is blue. So it did kind of work. Didn't see it happen though. Right, I wonder if we can do it a different colour. So if I go to Twitter again, and I'll send another one this time saying cheerlights red. This is going to confuse anyone who follows me on Twitter. Unless they've used this kit. Cheerlights, should we try cheerlights green? Let's try that. Cheerlights green. I'm going to send a different tweet. Does this change colour? Nothing happening yet. It's still blue. I might have missent the tweet, of course. Oh, I haven't sent it. That's why. Cheerlights green. Send the tweet. Anything happening? Still blue. Blue. Oh, it's gone green. Wow. That really is quite impressive. That took a few seconds, but I don't know how this program's working. But if it's sort of polling the whole of Twitter to look for people messing around with this, I don't know. Presumably, if anyone else is doing this at the same time, they're going to be confusing each other. Right. I wonder if we can do other colours. So the next project number 3, is called Coin Toss, and this uses the squid button. This is that lovely chunky button like the one that came with the RFID kit. And we've got 2 sets of pins here on the board for you to attach switches to. And I am going to attach this to switch 1, if I can do that without snapping anything off or bending the pins. There we go. That's quite easy. So we've got a button on there, got a push button. And if we run another Python script called Python 03 switch, it says both LEDs should remain off until the switch is pressed briefly. So let's try that. Well, an LED has come on here and here. It hasn't lit this one, which is what I was expecting, but actually LEDs on the board have come on, so that did light them. Oh yeah, there we go. Press it again. Oh, I see. So there are LEDs on the board. I didn't even see those. So push them again. The LEDs come on. Push it, they go off. So try holding the switch down for an extended period of time. The LEDs should blink. Oh, there we go. So we've got blinking lights. Excellent. To end the program, press Control C. Okay, so that's project 3, Coin Toss. Project 4 is a rangefinder. Ah, right. So I have a rummage in my gander bag over here. All the parts that came with it. The rangefinder is the groovy bit that... There we go. It's got a thing with like eyeballs on here. So this is going to tell our robot when it's getting near to an object and stop it bumping into things, I would imagine. So when the ultrasonic rangefinder is attached to the board, the robot's capable of measuring distance to nearby objects. So I haven't actually attached it yet. So at what point do I attach it? Do I need to power it down to attach it? It doesn't say. Looks like it goes in these sockets here. So I'm gonna throw caution to the wind, and I'm just gonna plug it in. because it doesn't tell me I need to power it down at this point. There we go. So we've plugged it in. Our robot now looks like it's got eyes, but of course they're kind of ears because it's ultrasonic. From the Raspberry Robot 3 directory, which is where I am, I'm going to run something called distance. So I'm going to go sudo python 04 underscore distance py. There we go. It's running. Now lots of numbers are scrolling up the screen here. It says the rangefinder measures the distance of objects placed in front of your terminal and displays them as centimeters in your terminal rather. Try modifying it to display the distance in inches. Not entirely sure why I want to do that, but anyway, display it in inches that is, but displaying how far away things are is pretty cool. Right, so it just looks like quite a lot of random numbers, but I'm kind of waving it into space. So if I take an object, so I get a piece of card here, got a nice Christmas card, very seasonal, put that in front of it. Does the number change? Oh yeah, it does. It says about 6 centimeters. That's about right. If I move it closer, there we go, it's going down to 4, 5. If I put it really close, it's got a bit confused when it was touching, but yeah, 3 centimeters. If I move it a bit further away now, it's measuring 17, 18 centimeters. Move it back a bit further from the card. Let's move it over here so you can see where the card is. So there's the card. There's the ultrasonic thing pointing at it. It says that's about 15 centimeters, which I'd say looks bang on. So there we go. That is actually working. So the ultrasonic rangefinder is measuring the distance. It would appear quite accurately when it's going. If I just point it up in space again, so I'm pointing at the ceiling now. What's it saying? I don't know, it might be hitting something on the shelf above. It says about 80 centimeters, so maybe there's a limit of the distance that it can measure. Right, the next part of the project is building the chassis. Project 6, build the chassis, and it suggests here you spread all the parts out and watch a video. So I'm going to go away and watch that and come back. Quite nice if there were instructions in here for building the chassis without watching the video. I think some people would quite like to do it that way, but maybe it's quite complicated. We'll see. So I'm going to go away, watch the video, and then see how easy it is for me to assemble the parts themselves. There aren't that many. I don't think. How hard could it be? Anyway, we'll find out. Okay, I'm watching the video to assemble the robot bit by bit. So the first job is to attach these spacers to the caster. I was a bit confused. I was actually watching the wrong video to start with. Turns out I've got a slightly older version of the kit. There are 2 versions of the video, and these are a bit different on each version. So I'm going to find these spacers here, these sort of brass spacers, and attach the nuts to them. There, you can do this by hand. I think you could use a pair of pliers or something, but I think doing it by hand will be fine. This robot is not going to be carrying human passengers, so if the wheels fell off, I don't think it's going to be a disaster. So I'm going to attach those on there. 1, 2, 3. There must be another one. I've put all my bits in a box here. Feeling just like James May on the reassembler now. Here we go. It's not quite an old-fashioned telephone, but it's quite satisfying nonetheless. So there we go. I'm going to attach that. It's quite nice to be making something. There we go. So fit that on there. There we go. They're all ready to go. I think the next step is we're going to attach it to the actual board. So I've got the battery pack connected. I've got the motors connected now. The next part is to attach the Raspberry Pi, which I've stripped down. I've taken the board, the actual robot controller board, has now been pulled off, so I can get to all the screws on the Raspberry Pi. It sits on these little spacers, which are cut from the same plastic as the board. This is a bit fiddly. I have to say the fiddliest bit is getting the protective film off here to make them transparent. Pulling that off is a bit fiddly. Once I've got those off, I'm going to sit that on top, and I can bolt the Raspberry Pi onto the board, and that should look quite nice. I'm not going to do that in real time. We're going to have some magic, and it'll be a case of here's one I made earlier, I think. Okay, this is quite an entertaining part of the process. So the Raspberry Pi is sitting on top. There is a little acrylic spacer sitting between the Raspberry Pi and the acrylic board. A screw goes through here, and you attach a nut on the back. You have to get all 4 together at the same time. It wasn't too difficult. I'll just get my finger on there. I've got all the screws in. If I do all the nuts up here, and go around here. Screws have fallen out. Okay, turning it upside down was a bad idea. Might be back to the drawing board on that one. So I've now found out what the world's tiniest screwdriver was for. It's for attaching the wires, the power wires, to the Raspberry Robot board, which sits atop the Raspberry Pi. That's now screwed onto the chassis. Attaching these wires was a little bit fiddly because the legends that tell you what they are is on this side, and you're connecting them on this side, so it's a bit difficult to see. It's also not entirely clear which is positive and which is negative. I'm assuming that's very important, because if you get positive and negative the wrong way round on the motors, presumably it will go the opposite direction to what you expect, and if you get the power supply, this is the battery pack connects here, if you get that the wrong way round, that could be very nasty indeed. It is clearly labelled, they're ground on this side and positive on that side. It's just when you're wiring them in there, you can't very easily see the labels that are on there. So that is a little bit fiddly, but they're all attached. No batteries in the thing yet. It's not powered up yet. Waiting to see what the next step is. So there we go. We should be good to go now. I think we've got the motors, the wheels, the Raspberry Robot board sitting on top of the Raspberry Pi. Everything is connected up. Let's see what happens next. Okay, so having assembled it all, I have had a minor disaster. I thought I'd actually killed the Raspberry Pi because I powered it all up and it all looked very dead. I think what had happened was that the SD card had actually popped out when I was assembling it. So what I've done is I've taken this wheel off, I've put an HDMI cable back in and then a USB cable back in. I'm just about to power the Raspberry Pi back up. Let's see if it lives. So let's get the power socket in. Hopefully something will appear on the display. Oh, thank goodness for that. I have light on the screen, so I haven't actually killed the Raspberry Pi. This is very good news. I'm going to reassemble it. I'm going to put the wheel back on. And hopefully all will be well and we can start getting some movement and some actual robotics happening. So what I've now got, I've got my robot all assembled now. I have got some batteries inside it. I'm also powering it off USB as well because I'm a bit paranoid as to how long these batteries are going to last. I don't think they're going to last very long. So it's all assembled. I have connected to the Raspberry Pi over Wi-Fi on another computer using SSH, and I'm now going to run this program called Manual Robot. So I run the Manual Robot. It says press the arrow keys to move the robot. Let's see if it works. So on my laptop, I'm going to press the forward arrow. Ah! Right, okay, that crashed into the camera. That clearly works. Oh, go backwards. Whoa, you go forward. Right, oh my goodness, it's absolutely gone crazy. So there we go. It's actually working. I can spin it around. It's getting slightly tangled in knots because I've still got the USB attached, but my golly, that works. So yeah, quite impressed with that. Oh, my camera's stopped working there. Let's try it one more time. Forward arrow. Let's see if we can demolish the camera. Ah! Okay, I've changed venue now. I've moved to the kitchen, a bit more space. The robot is now on the floor. It's autonomous. I'm controlling it using a different program called Manual Robot Continuous. And it says on the screen now, use the arrow keys to move the robot. So off we go. Whoa, there we go. I've certainly got issues with it. I've got issues with steering. Well, it's a bit hard to see now, isn't it? We go spinning round. There we go. The robot is spinning round madly. Let's go off in that direction. And go, oh, and it's hit the wall. But anyway, it seems to work. My golly, right? So it's spinning round, going that way, and clockwise. Go clockwise. Back off forward. The dog is hiding. The dog has gone into absolute hiding now. But there we go. That was very quick to get that working. Assembly was a little bit fiddly, but my goodness me, stuck around the chair now. I have got a working robot that I can control using another computer. Oh, this is very nice, very pleasing indeed. Right, I wonder if I can get it to bring me my slippers. Right, I'm running the other program now. Let's see if we can get the dog interested in this. Right, if I run the program again. Oh, there we go. Going forward a bit. Is the dog going to interact with it? Oh, there we go. Dog's not sure. Ooh. What do you think, Ellie? What do you think of the robot? Okay, I've experimented with a few different programs. The one I really like best is the Explorer program. This is very good indeed. You have to attach the switch to it to get this to work. And you run the program remotely using SSH or something like that. and you turn the robot on by pressing, well, the robot's already running, but you activate it by pressing the switch, and it's now in explorer mode. So what it will do is it will go off exploring your room. So it should approach an object, realises it's going to hit into something, turns around, it's going to hit into it again, here we go, and it's off again, exploring the kitchen. Let's see what happens when it gets to the furniture here. My wheels are a little bit wonky. That's also a very confused dog. So it's trying to find its way around the room, like a sort of Roomba or something like that. It's stuck under the table now. It's going to be hard pushed to get out of there, I think. There we go. It's swirling around under that. Shall I release the poor robot? There we go. It's exploring that bit of the room under there. It's it's good. It's moving the dog's dinner bowl around. That's very useful. Thank you, robot. I'm not sure the dog's going to be very impressed with that. It's now got stuck at the dog's water bowl. So there we go. All in all, very impressed with this kit. Very nice indeed. It was a little bit fiddly to assemble in places, and my wheels are still a little bit wonky. They're not quite square. I haven't quite worked out what I've done wrong here. Something's not quite right with these screws here. I suspect I haven't tightened everything up enough, so I'll need to look at that again. Surprisingly quickly, it was possible to build an autonomous robot. I also love the idea of the fact the whole thing is battery powered. It powers not just the motors, it's powering the Raspberry Pi as well. So it really is an autonomous device. You can program it and get it setting off on its own, or you can control it remotely from another computer using just SSH. You don't even need to use VNC. Very nice little kit. It's nice to actually make something, actually physically build something, and have something that is self-contained. Wiring up, probably the hardest part I would say was probably wiring up all the power wires on here. It was a bit fiddly, especially as I managed to knock the SD card out. Thinking that I'd killed my Raspberry Pi, I pulled this off and snapped off one of the wires here, so I had to restrip it. It was just long enough to do that and put it back in. There's not a huge amount of play in these wires though. Probably couldn't get away with doing that again. So do be careful with that. Getting the wheels on was a bit hard as well. They were a bit stiff, but I managed to get those on eventually when I'd lined them up properly. And all in all, I'd say this is a jolly nice little kit and a really nice introduction to the world of robotics, and especially to the world of robotics using the Raspberry Pi. Dare I start this off again? No.